What's poppin', y'all? Welcome back to another YouTube video, and today we're taking a look at another series review, and today we're taking a look at Lord of the Rings, The Rings of Power Season 2. This season does have 8 episodes, all roughly between 60 and 70 minutes each, so you can watch it within like 8-9 hours, like I did. I watched it all in one go. I binge-watched this shit, and I'm gonna be honest, no point delaying, let's just get into the story and the plot, because we ran it a little bit too long last time. So there is, again, 4 plots like there was in the first one, and we're going to go with Galdria, the main elf. She has put on a ring, well, as we saw last time, and she is having dark thoughts. She's having evil thoughts, and she gets captured by Sauron's underling, the Orc people, and they want her to give her the ring, and she's like, oh, I don't have it, I gave it to my mate, and she's being used as a hostage in a battle. Put a pin in that story for now. Going to the other elf that we was very knowledgeable on last time, he has taken the role from being part of the council to being a warrior on the battlefield. He's going and ready to kill Sauron, and he heads to the other village, the other kingdom of the elves, and he takes on the orc army. He takes them on, and he fights them, and he called upon the dwarves, and he's there waiting for his dwarves to return. He does end up giving the ring that Galadriel gave to him to the to the elf, because he fucked up and he just wants her to live. She breaks free. Unpinning the story, she breaks free, teams up with the other elf, which we'll talk about how he got there in a minute, but then they go and fight Sauron in the castle. Now, how did Sauron get into that castle? Well, we gotta take it back to the start yet again. Sauron did get captured by the Dark Elf, and the Dark Elf sent him to go be a messenger to these people, and he did, and he tricked them, and he was using dark magic to make the High Elf of this castle make rings. He made them make 7 for the dwarfs, but he put a little bit of his blood, a little bit of the poison inside, so that they'd be succumbed to greed, succumbed to anger, and we'll put a pin in that for now. But we'll keep going. He then decides to make 9 rings for the humans, and he's keeping the High Elf in a perpetual state of sort of forgetfulness, and in a perpetual state, and he's manipulating, he's gaslighting everyone. He's playing a fucking 4D chess. He's playing everyone. He's making everyone move how he wants them to move, and making them believe what he wants them to believe. It's fucking insane, the level of gaslighting this man goes through. It's worse than my ex. But anyway, continuing, he goes through the castle, and, they break free from his spell, and they send him away. He then kills the Dark Elf, and now the orcs work for him. Damn. He gets the 9 rings from the girl, and, he also takes them to men. And that's where these 3 stories end. Going back to how that 3rd elf got to this location, he was with Theo, and, Theo was like, cool, I'm gonna chill here with these guys. If you need to go do that, you go do that. So he went and literally found her, and Theo just chilled about in the village, and the people in the other human city that we saw from the first time start a revolution and overthrow the queen, have a new king, kill the religious people there, and overthrow the monarchy. His dad then flees, as he, who isn't fucking dead, I called that shit, his son, who died in a fire last season, who isn't fucking dead, his horse goes to fucking save him, is now on the ship heading back to that island where his father has ran away. Right, that's all that story. That is all of it to the fullest that I can complete. Now, time for the second story, which is the Hobbit story, the Harfoot story. They're traveling through the desert being chased by masked murderers, and, as you do, they get separated by a giant sand tornado. So those two find another village of Harfoots, and they're talking about Harfoot history, how their clan originated here, and, someone was supposed to come back and bring these people to everlasting Greenwood, and obviously they never found it, that never happened, and people just forget. We then have Gandalf talking to another wizard who tells him you need to find a staff and you can't be in two places at once. You either pick friendship or power. You got to choose. Once you choose one, this path will be closed. You can only go down one path. He goes down the path of friendship and realizes it was all a test. He takes on the Dark Wizard, saves the Half-Feet, and the Half-Feet are like, shit, we gotta bounce, we can't live here no more. And they start their first migration. That's where that story ends, and the Half-Foot and Gandalf go their separate ways. That's the end of the story. That's literally the end of everything. I'm gonna be honest, this season wasn't as good as the first one. I definitely preferred the first one because it just had a lot more action, it had a lot more setup to the characters. This one was just a continuation of their story arcs and helping them grow further as characters. I don't like how they kinda left Theo in the dust. He didn't really have much character development throughout this season. He was just kind of there, and he didn't really do much, and he was one of my favourite characters from the first one, so I was a little upset that he was underutilized in this second season. Everyone from the first one did come back though, and I liked how the dwarfs had their own problems, and then we had the other elf go from being like a politician to an army man. That was a very drastic change, and something that we didn't really expect to see his character do, but seeing his change and how he can get his hands dirty and get dark and brooding and really cool. That was a really interesting transition. I will say the prosthetics on the orcs and the elves were fucking superb. The visual effects were incredible, and the set design and costumes were also incredible. It genuinely felt like I was watching the Lord of the Rings movies. This series must have an absolutely insanely high budget to be able to make it feel like this and to be able to make it sort of work like this. It is so fucking good. It is so incredible, and something which I genuinely didn't expect this series to do. So I'm very pleased. I'm very happy with the amount of effort and love and care that goes into crafting a series like this. We also have a load of good sort of money shots in this as well, where we have some incredible camera angles and some close-ups, face zooms, where it's showing like the emotion of the characters, where we have a really sort of distressed elf sat in the middle of battle repeating to himself, Durin will come, Durin will come, Durin will come. He's saying it to himself. He starts off saying it as like very convinced, and then he feels less and less convinced every time he says it, like he's trying to convince even himself that Durin will come. He's trying to provide that little bit of hope in this bleak, fading, hopeless situation where there is like 5 elves left against an army of orcs, and he's just given up all hope and motivation because his best friend didn't even show up to his battle. To his time of need, his best friend didn't show. And even when the dwarfs did show up, he is still a little hurt that his friend didn't even come. But you gotta understand that his father did just die, so he is in mourning, but it is still upsetting that even your friend couldn't come and help you in this battle. Even your friend couldn't come and help. We do have a very strange thing, which I noticed when I was making a Lego custom, that we don't actually see these 2 kids. This Durin the Fourth actually has a child. He has 2, and we never actually see them. We never actually saw them in the first season either. It's like they've been written out of the story. It's like their actors have done something wrong, so they're being written out or kept in the background and kept out of sight, because every time that they're having a meal in the dinner hall, the children are not present. We don't even hear the children laughing or giggling in another room. We're just told that they're out off playing, that they're not hungry. They're just not present, and that leads me to have suspicion about these 2 children and how much potential they're going to have in the next couple of seasons of this show. Maybe they'll bring, I don't know, maybe it'll be a young version of one of the dwarfs we see in The Hobbit. Maybe it'll be a young version of one of the dwarfs that we see in The Lord of the Rings. I don't know. I would be very excited if it was, but I highly doubt it. The action in this one is really good. It's not as sort of action-packed as the first one. There isn't as many battles as there was in the first one, but the one battle that there was, god damn, it felt like I was watching The Lord of the Rings again. It was a really interesting battle. We had the orcs pushing the castle, setting up the wooden sort of ladders to climb up to infiltrate the castle. We had them breaking down the walls. We had them getting help from the trolls. It genuinely felt like a battle from one of the Lord of the Rings movies. I felt like I'd seen this battle before. Obviously, it wasn't on the grand scale that Lord of the Rings battle was on, but it felt like two similar stance and similar sort of like importance of one of the Lord of the Rings battles. It is a really well thought out like battle, and it was just so good watching it all unfold and seeing like the tactics and how they use the surroundings and the mountains to their advantage. It is just really cool and really interesting just to see how war works and how battles work and how each fight is different depending on sort of where they are. It was just really it was just a really interesting battle. There's a lot that I want to say about this series. The acting is phenomenal as well. I fucking love the acting. The actors, they give it their all throughout this entire series, and it just feels so magical and so mystical with all of their sort of... They just put so much effort into it. It's great. I am going to be honest, Halbrand literally, or Sauron, whatever you want to call him, all he did was manipulate this season, and I was a little upset because I did like his character in the first season. It was an incredible twist that he turned out to be Sauron, but I was a little bit upset, and I couldn't help be a little bit wounded at him, you know, not being himself. Well, he is actually himself in this one, but I did like his Halbrand character in the first season. I thought he was really cool, and he did very much remind me of Aragorn, and I now see why they tried to move away from that and made him Sauron, because there was a lot of references to like Aragorn, whatever he was called from Lord of the Rings. I forget, I'm not good with names. But there was so much drama that it was genuinely felt like stuff was happening all the time, but it also felt like nothing was happening at the same time. I don't know, this series felt quite slow, and it definitely suffered with pacing issues, and I kind of felt that with season 1 as well, where we didn't get to see some characters for like 2-3 episodes, and then they would just come back, or we would completely skip out on some people's stories for so long, or we would focus on one story for way too long that it would feel like we're not getting enough from other characters. I would sit there and I would be like, where's the hobbits at? Like, we haven't seen them in a while. Or where's the elf? We haven't seen them in a while. Where's Theo? What's happening with Theo? It feels like it's taking too long to tell its story, and I know it will suffer from that because the episodes are like an hour long each, and that is a lot of series to watch. You gotta think, most series like that have 8 episodes, their episodes are only between like 45 and 50 minutes long. They're never really an hour long, so it is a very rare occasion that this series has, and it is a very sort of rare, uncommon occurrence that it has these hour-long episodes. But I do feel like the pacing could be a little bit better, and that's one of my only issues with this series. I do again prefer the first one. You cannot beat the first one. I'm gonna be honest, it's the opening thing, it's what hooks you into the story, and the other seasons are just what continue it on. They are supposed to keep you interested, and this series did do that, but I do feel like the first one was still a lot better because it's the one that sort of grips you and the one that sort of grabs you by the throat and is like, hey, this is this, and that is that, and you're gonna watch it, it's great. But other than that, I have to give this one a little bit less than I gave the first one. I feel like a 7 out of 10 is pretty worth and pretty accurate for this season. So other than that, I hope you all enjoyed this YouTube video. I'll see you all next one. I hope you all have an excellent day, and goodbye. Stay home and stay safe.